Welcome to Did You Know number 37. This time we're going to do something a little different. I'm just going to share one Did You Know, and then we'll get to our question and answer. And the reason I'm doing that is because this is a long one. It's going to take several verses to show you. Did you know, we're talking about today, Donald Trump has been trying for a couple years now to get a border wall built between U.S. and Mexico. And he has faced great opposition from the Democrats trying to keep that from happening. Did you know, God says in the book of Ecclesiastes, he says in Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 9, the thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. Well, Donald Trump trying to build a wall between U.S. and Mexico and having opposition to that is nothing new under the sun. Because that actually happened, a very similar thing happened in the Bible. And it's recorded in the book of Nehemiah. Israel had been in captivity, under Babylonian captivity for 70 years. And God called Nehemiah to go back to his home city of Jerusalem and build a wall around the city. Basically, it's a wall around the city to protect the nation. It would be a wall to protect the Jews in their own nation. Just like Donald Trump wants to build a wall between U.S. and Mexico to protect the people, the Americans, in their own nation. So, in the book of Nehemiah, chapter 2, Nehemiah petitions the king for this. And the king, in verse 8, Nehemiah 2, verse 8, the king sends a letter to allow Nehemiah to build a wall. In other words, the king gives the authority and the economic wherewithal to build a wall, just like Trump put out an order to rebuild the wall build the wall between U.S. and Mexico. Nehemiah 2:8, and the king sent a letter unto Asaph, the keeper of the king's forest, that he may give me, that's Nehemiah, timber, to make beams for the gates of the palace, which appertain to the house, and for the wall of the city, and for the house that I shall enter into. And the king granted me, according to the good hand of my God upon me. So just like Trump put out the authority to build the wall, the king put out the authority, the letter, for Nehemiah to build the wall around Jerusalem. Then you go down to verse 19, Nehemiah 2:19. But when Sanballat the Horonite and Tobiah the servant, the Ammonite, and Geshem the Arabian heard it, they laughed us to scorn and despised us and said, What is this thing that ye do? Will ye rebel against the king? So he tries to build a wall around Jerusalem. He gets the authority from the king, and the people accuse him of going against what the king wants to do. Just like today, Trump issues the order to build the wall, and people in office, namely the Democrats, try to put a stop to it and say that you're actually doing us harm by putting up the wall. If you go to Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 1, But it came to pass that when Sanballat heard that we builded the wall, he was wroth and took great indignation and mocked the Jews. Old Steve Bannon got together with some other people, raised some private funds, and built part of the wall in New Mexico, El Paso, Texas area between U.S. and Mexico. And the Democrats are wroth, taking great indignation and mocking him for doing so. Just like happened with Nehemiah, Sanballat did that against Nehemiah. Verse 6, Nehemiah 4:6. So built we the wall, and all the wall was joined together unto the half thereof, for the people had a mind to work. But it came to pass that when Sanballat and Tobiah and the Arabians and the Ammonites and the Ashdodites heard that the walls of Jerusalem were made up, and that the breaches began to be stopped, then they were very wroth, and conspired all of them together to come and to fight against Jerusalem and to hinder it. Nevertheless, we made our prayer unto our God, and set a watch against them day and night because of them. And Judah said, the strength of the bearers of burdens is decayed, and there is much rubbish, so that we are not able to build the wall. So Trump puts the funding for the Pentagon to get in their budget to go ahead and build the wall, and the Democrats have some liberal judge that stops it. Just like here, you got these people in the government stopping Nehemiah and the Jews from building a wall around Jerusalem. And then Nehemiah chapter 6, verse 1. Now it came to pass when Sanballat and Tobiah and Geshem the Arabian and the rest of our enemies heard that I had builded the wall, and that there was no breach left therein, though at that time I had not set up the doors upon the gates, that Sanballat and Geshem sent unto me, saying, Come, let us meet together in some one of the villages in the plain of Ono. But they thought to do me mischief. And I sent messengers unto them, saying, I am doing a great work, so that I cannot come down. Why should the work cease, whilst I leave it and come down to you? Yet they sent unto me 4 times after this sort, and I answered them after the same manner. This is just like Trump and the Democrats. Trump keeps saying, we're going to build the wall, we got the funding for the wall, and the Democrats come after him time and time again to try to keep them from building the wall. And then verse 15, Nehemiah 6:15. So the wall was finished in the 25th day of the month Elul in 52 days. And it came to pass that when all our enemies heard thereof, and all the heathen that were about us saw these things, they were much cast down in their own eyes, for they perceived that this work was wrought of our God. Hopefully we have a happy ending, just like the Jews did, where they were able to build a wall around Jerusalem to protect their people and protect their nation. I hope that Donald Trump and all the people that are fighting with him are able to overcome the adversaries of the Democrats who are trying to keep us from protecting our nation. So, funny that no one's talking about this. There's nothing new under the sun. The victory went to the people of the nation. They got their wall built. I hope that's the same for us today. Now we're going to do our question and answer. Our question last time: where does someone preach behind a pulpit in the Bible? Well, it's in the book of Nehemiah. While you're there, you can go over to Nehemiah chapter 8. Nehemiah chapter 8, verse 1. And all the people gathered themselves together as one man into the street that was before the water gate. And they spake unto Ezra the scribe to bring the book of the law of Moses, which the Lord had commanded to Israel. And Ezra the priest brought the law before the congregation, both of men and women, and all that could hear with understanding, upon the first day of the 7th month. And he read therein before the street that was before the water gate from the morning until midday, before the men and the women and those that could understand. And the ears of all the people were attentive unto the book of the law. And Ezra the scribe stood upon a pulpit of wood, which they had made for the purpose, and beside him stood these people. So, the answer of where does someone preach behind a pulpit? The answer is Ezra, and it's in Nehemiah 8, 1 through 4. Technically, he stood upon the pulpit, but still, that's the only time in the Bible that a pulpit's ever mentioned. Ezra standing upon a pulpit to preach. That was in Nehemiah 8, verses 1 through 4. Our question for this next time, Ezra, Nehemiah, the next book is Esther. Did you know that Esther is not her real name? Question, what is Esther's real name? Give me the chapter and verse from the book of Esther and give me her real name. Thanks for watching.